Okay. Everything should be working correctly. Just gonna watch the volume sliders a moment, make sure things don't get too deafening for anyone. And I think it's okay to have the camera up there, but we'll see. Is this what I want to do? Yeah, sure. That's fine. It's bird time. I don't really want any of these. These all are not things I want. But I'll take the lightning blast just because I'm going to take something. Actually, yeah, I'm blocking the mini-map if I'm up there. So, hell with it. Camera, go away. There's no good corner to sit in. No. The affiliate thing is blocking that, so I'm just gonna get rid of that too. There we go. Knew I couldn't keep it up with not missing shots. Oh well. Apparently I got the Savage Butcher achievement suddenly? Why on earth did I get that now, of all times, when I've just started a trip? Seems odd. Oh, Evil Banishing Talisman straight off, huh? Oh, kill 1,000 enemies up close, okay. That makes sense, I don't do that often. I tend to be the distance fighter, not the I'm going to stand on your head and murder you guy. What do you got for me? Sealed ammo. Take that. That'll work. Yeah, give me easy kill first. That'll make my cleaves start doing ridiculous damage. Big Hippo is funny, but I don't think that's going to be a favorable choice for me here. I was really hoping that would kill so I could start stacking that. Oh well. Doesn't matter. No. No. Go ahead and spend my health into hell. Absolutely not necessary, but it's fun. Just like doing that. Ooh, I do like Lightning Enthusiast. Yeah, no, that should be okay. Only taking slightly more damage should be absolutely fine. If it'll backfire on me, so be it. Grab the Bloody Drill as a replacement for the Lightning. So still haven't gotten a chance to play with this yet. I don't tend to go for defensive cleave, even though I do tend to go for the cleave build. Mostly because I tend to get it at the same time as a much more aggressive talent for it. And I am a foolishly aggressive person. I got slightly burned. That's fine. Abnormal speed. Excellent. It's not a run of gunfire if you don't end up nearly shooting the face off the craftsman at least once when you round a corner. It's a good thing he's immortal, otherwise it'd be a bit of a problem. I don't care for either of these guns, so we're not going to use him. Nah, I like the Go Shock, but not with this setup. Gotta remember to start actually using the cleave more so I can stack easy kill. Don't really want to spend the gold on any of this either. Oh, out of feathers. Since this goes through his shield, I'm going to use the bloody drill on him as much as I can. Makes it a bit less annoying, because I don't have to constantly be strafing around him. They're really not playing ball with giving me anything that would actually suit this. Which is fine, I can work around anything. I'd rather have something a little close range. That would be nice. But I could also just get extra surprise and do the same thing without having to go the extra mile of breaking everything. Nice. I can save a bunch of money that way. I'm pretty sure it gets consumed when I buy the next thing that I'm going to buy. Why am I getting spammed with notifications? Aside from the fact that, of course, I went live. So now everyone must be spamming. Okay. Missed it. If any of you have come along expecting a professional, I would advise you all to turn around and find someone else now, because you will only be disappointed. If you're here for fun, stick around. You'll probably see some of that at least. His mistakes will be made. As demonstrated there when I traced his skull with my shots. Do I want the lightning? It's not a lightning glove, it's a laser glove. Take it anyway. Why not? Unless I want hell. I mean, hell does suit this character design better. Yeah, concealed ammo can go away in favor of hell. I like to keep a close and a long-range weapon on hand, because you never know when you're in a situation where you just can't keep your gimmick going. Sometimes I'm a believer in committing to the bit, but in a game like this, I don't push my luck that much. The only reason I'm really on the fence about the hell is shotguns and me don't exactly get along very well. Drop for me. Yeah, I'll take that. Oh great, it's the golem. Exactly what I didn't really want with the setup I have. I mean, I could sub in a prism and that would help. Or I could just make do with what I've got. I think I'll just make do. Probably be fine. Don't like either of these guns enough to upgrade them, though. So this fight might turn into a bit of a slog. I may even make a complete fool of myself and manage to die on it. We'll see. This is far closer than I usually fight this at. I'm usually at the back of the arena to make sure I don't get myself in any serious trouble. Missed me. Get drained, punk. I'm gonna punch you. I'm gonna punch you to death. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to reach, because I've never tried that. I'm very happy to see that that works. Yeah, I'll take a talisman. Yeah, this is fine. I think I want them on corrosion. Yeah, corrosion's probably a good idea at where we're going. Because a lot of things around here have armor. Corrosion's real good for armor. Switch to lightning right quick to deal with the arsonist. That's the big thing with these talismans, is you can switch elements on the fly with them. You know, as long as you can reach your B button quick enough to not put yourself in too much danger doing that. What do we got? Upgrade the weapon by spending money. Upgrade all the inscriptions, or reroll all the inscriptions. I'll get back to you on that. Yeah. Why not? Nice. That is much better. Not sold entirely on the crit hit one for the talisman, since with the homing shots on it, there's not as much of a guarantee of making a crit hit, but it'll be fine. It's worth it for the other one it got. Actually, it's doing a pretty good job of homing on the head now, so maybe they adjusted where those target. So I seem to recall that they used to home center mass. This is gonna be a problem though, especially if I get stuck. Because that guy's big time tanky. Getting stuck again. Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. I'm pretty sure those snipers are gonna keep respawning till this fight ends, so I probably shouldn't waste my time trying to kill them. So if I'm moving as I should, they really shouldn't have too much of a shot at me anyway. Oh, he's bigger than I thought. Then again, he is a big goddamn boy. Now to fight fire with fire. And down he goes, as his body freaks out on the ground. And all of his friends have perished with him. Feed the shotgun. Which I, in hindsight, probably should have been using at that range, but you know. We got there. Almost forgot to grab this, which would have made that entirely pointless. Huh. I wonder how that would interact. Because if I have on the house, my first peddler purchase is free. But I've also got a 30% refund scroll that I'm pretty sure is consumed on my first purchase. So would that refund me 0 because I didn't pay anything, or would it not trigger because I didn't pay anything? Or would it just refund me the actual value of the item, which means I would just gain money? Yeah, pretty much. That's an accurate response. That is how we tend to do things. And I take it that's what you chose to change your name to. I don't think you actually made it any shorter. I think you may have gained like 1 letter. Ah. Okay. Fair enough then. Okay, it didn't consume... You know, I didn't gain money. But I don't know if it consumed the scroll. So... But I don't think I want anything that's in here, so we're not really going to get a great chance to test it either. Oh well. At least now I can carry even more slapping. He didn't even know what was coming. Just keep on slamming them out of here. Just keep feeding in my cleave damage, boys. That's a bad call. Man, you have too much health. Hell with you and your shields. Don't mind me as I use my long-range weapon at close range and my close-range weapon at long range. Totally nothing wrong with this plan. Game, why must you vex me so by offering me exactly what I want but shouldn't have? What do I got? There's what I need. Because once cleave starts doing actual damage, then you can stack easy kill to all kinds of ridiculous levels. Ooh, that's much more my style. Of course, it's gonna do like nothing to half these things right now because of the whole reduced not crit damage. The reason why I wanted this is because it's a sniper rifle and a shotgun, so it gives me everything I could possibly desire. Because if you charge it, spread arrows. You don't charge it, it just blasts. Best of both worlds. $130 damage extra from easy kill so far. About to be a lot more because they're sending me all kinds of plebs to punch. Still not doing enough damage though, which is sad. Yes, I know that leads to the vault. Turns out I've got bigger things to worry about right now. That's what I get for being greedy and trying to stay close so I can hit him still. Bop. Come here, you. Feed my power. Sadly, we no longer have the feed fish to the shotgun animation, but I'll live. Maybe. I don't jump around a lot, but I also don't have to pay for it, so I may as well take it anyway. Worst case, I can always get a red chest potentially to sell it to. go ahead and buy the resupply. Well, there went the refund scroll. Reflexively bought the secondary resupply and got 20 copper back. Hooray. I don't think it was called Cleve Carnival before. I feel like they changed that name. But we're taking that because I can fit in even more slapping. I will throw hands with everyone. And you, and you. You, and you, and you again. Don't worry, I got hands for you too. Hands for everyone. No one is left out. And I've only lost one charge. That's because I had to double tap the one guy. Don't really know why that didn't land. That was definitely lined up. Oh well, doesn't matter. Do 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 do. 260. 265. This is by no means efficient, but it's fun. Surprise! Uh-oh. They don't approve of me having fun. They don't approve of me having fun. I forgot the rule. No fun allowed. No fun allowed. I'm coming up there after you. Okay, the game said no. Coming up there anyway. As long as I've got one charge, I can loop it into more charges. I just need to always have one charge. Hi. Give me charges. Dang it. They didn't die. I'm so disappointed. I could probably climb up there, and those are most definitely shots I could make, but I can't be bothered to deal with their nonsense. Congratulations, you volunteered for a mugging. Come here, you. They're just gonna keep spawning on my face if I stay here, aren't they? I guess this is their spawn zone, so it's on me that I'm getting a bit murdered. But you know what? This is fine. I thrive in locations where there are many enemies. $350. Could go back to the craftsman and upgrade this talisman. Wouldn't be the worst idea. But it's not going to be something I'm going to bother to do. So I'm sure we'll find a replacement. They really don't want me upgrading anything this time. This is depressing. That said, we're going to go ahead and take Victory Rush. We might die here, though, because this thing is kind of annoying solo, because if I don't... Never mind, we got propulsion device. We're probably fine. I can probably outrun the laser. Because the whole thing is, it's got a laser attack that if it touches you, you're more than likely going to die. I should probably restore my armor as well, just to be on the safe side. Except I can't, because I forgot he doesn't sell an armor restore. Oh well. Just means I gotta be fast. Thankfully, this guy is currently set up to be all about being fast. Yeah, because 2 dashes will pretty much guaranteed keep you ahead of the laser. 1 dash is a bit of a crapshoot. I have abnormal speed right now, so I have decent chance of staying ahead of it just with a single dash. So one way or the other, we're in pretty good standing. I'm just always nervous fighting that thing because I'm usually playing the lightning sniper, who doesn't exactly have a counter to this thing's laser. So I just eat death every time. Why am I taking so much damage suddenly? I must have been standing in some goo. Ooh, like an idiot. Oop, yep. Well, that's really sad. Oh well. The phase I was worried about went so well, and then I did a dumb and get myself dropped in the second half. Amazing. Completely in character, but still depressing. All because I wanted to be funny and try to punch it to death. Which, also, in character. Just to prove you can punch it. I've now punched it. But yeah, almost every time I go through this game, I lose a life to that thing. Either by my own stupidity, or by virtue of having no answer to it. Sure. So I'm pretty sure that'll actually count towards Victory Rush and help. That'd be real tempting if I was playing anybody else. I will take this fire scale, though. As fun as the talisman is, that particular talisman's going to fall off pretty soon here. Since I wasn't sitting there and upgrading it. Top up my armor. At each of those checkpoints, you can go back to the inn and not actually keep playing if you need to go do something. Which is nice. Not really a feature I've ever made use of, but it's a feature that exists. Now, this is the part of the game where it's going to get real stupid dangerous for me to be playing the way I've been playing. And as you can see, that under no means stops me. I'm gonna punch this octopus. Huh. Got a new talisman immediately. Which is a pretty good talisman. But I'm gonna keep what I've got. Yeah, there must be some serious fall off on this pupil. Which makes sense. It's designed to be a shotgun, not sniping with it like I've been doing. But it's really funny to snipe with it. I will, as always, be a bastion of I'm doing it because it's funny, not because it's smart. Yeah. Those shotguns still confuse me to this day. Get back here, loot goblin. I'm gonna beat the money out of you. This thing's kind of adorable, and I feel slightly bad pummeling it, but it's full of money, therefore I don't feel as bad immediately afterwards. Might actually manage to... Oh, God. I get the feeling my greed might be my undoing here. But god damn it, I'm going to get it. There we go. Oh, good. They all died. Beautiful. That could have gone really badly if they didn't die when I killed that thing. Or at least when I broke its pouch, because it doesn't actually die. Why are you giving me all the sniper rifles now? Especially the really nice ones. God damn it, game. I'm taking it. It's gonna backfire, but I'm taking it. To be fair, in a lot of cases they kinda are in this game. I just like the snipers because of the ridiculous damage ceiling you can break through with them. This is still 110% not the build for it, though. $440. Dang it, he burned to death before I could reach him. Oh, the catfish got me. Oh no. No, 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 no. Turbo slow. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Uh-uh. I'm glad I grabbed the sniper right about now, though, because it gives me a chance to fight from here instead of having to get in on that mess. It seems like the pupil might actually still be being more effective, though. And I think that's just because I'm getting lots of lucky shots because of the fact that all of my shots count as double, so we're hitting them 20 times per shot of the pupil. Giving me pretty good odds of lucky hits happening. And if you pay attention, you'll notice actually that the barrels on the pupil are rotating inward when you charge it. Just kind of coiling back like a spring. It's kind of neat. I could have let him stay confused so he would have shot his friends for me. Oh well. $475. $490. I'm trying to reach at least 700 with the cleave before I get to the boss, but I don't think I'm gonna make that at the current rate. Especially since I don't think I got the ascension for getting healed by swinging away at things, so I can't just spam my way to victory. Hail of Bullets is just so damn good. Especially with something with a magazine size of 2 like this, because then I get the benefit from that exclusive inscription without actually having to take the detriment of the 2 rounds being a problem. Wait. Yeah, the lanterns he's summoning count towards easy kill. I could sit here and stack easy kill through the ceiling if I wanted to be patient and let him live. This is gonna get stupid, and I'm here for it. Because he summons 3 at a time, so I can sit here and just get 15 more points on easy kill every time. And he doesn't do anything else, so it's not like he's a threat to me at all. And I have an infinite supply of cleaves because each lantern gives me back a cleave. So if I'm willing to sit here long enough, I could probably get this to over 1,000 just for sake of it being really stupid. So, needless to say, we're going to be sitting here for a little bit. I probably won't stack it to 1,000, but I'm going to stack it up a bit. Just because this entertains me. The fact that they left this as an option. I feel like they should have considered this idea. Though I suppose in normal play, especially in multiplayer, somebody would have accidentally killed this guy before the idea could get out. Since these we do not suffer these to live under most circumstances. He's getting a lot of his lanterns stuck, though. There we go, 695, 700. This is already going to be a big win for me, just because I've already jumped a good, like, 100 and change damage on this. And even if I start missing, I'm buried in feathers right now. So I have an endless supply of punching. Not to mention this is infinite money. Not that money matters in this game that much after a while. But I could sit here and grind to insane amounts of money so I could just upgrade the ever-living hell out of everything, too. Under most circumstances, I would fair play myself out of doing this at all. But given how frustrating the boss of this area tends to be for me, whether I get the serpent or the boat, I'm more than happy to take advantage of this. It's not like this is even taking long, either. We're almost to 900, and I don't think I've even been here 10 minutes. He's just hiding behind that rock like it's gonna save him somehow. Just keep giving me power and you'll get to live. The moment you stop summoning for long enough that I get bored, you're going to die. Also, I can't help but notice that he's only summoning 2 at a time now. There we go. I thought maybe he was starting to run out. That we had found a cap and it was just ridiculously high. I would just like to point out that I'm doing almost 5,000 damage to these things when I'm punching them now. Because of the scaling I've got going on. They should not let me have this much power. Because I have 20 cleaves that I can carry, and each one does nearly 5,000 damage. So if I can just get up on something and spam punch, I'm going to do horrific damage to it. Like, I dropped the monk himself in 2 punches. You don't want me getting close to you, but I'm gonna get close to you anyway. Now, if only I could feed the cleave power back into my gun. That would make this obscene. There's just something real weird about me running around punching things with the sniper rifle still out. Don't worry, guys. My role is sniper. Why are you punching things? I'm sniping them with my fist. I don't think that's how that works. Well, it is now. There we go, just enhance the hell out of the pupil. Because the piercing flame is really only in my inventory as a meme right now. Yeah, those upgrades have definitely made this a much more worthwhile weapon. Very good. Just caught it right back up. $1,100. Who dare? No. 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 This feels decidedly not okay, but it's absolutely hilarious. 1,200. Like, I might die because of what I'm doing here. Wait, why am I still dying? Okay, good. We stopped dying. I think I got set on fire or something by that last lantern. Which, not gonna lie, the timing was very disconcerting, considering I just said it'd be funny if I died, and then the universe almost granted that joke. Some real leverage there. I want to hit 1,300 cleave damage before I die, damn it. The marker was a lot lower before, but now that we've reached higher, now I want to go higher. Yeah, that's what I need, fully equipped. That'll scale me up. At least it'll help. Gotta love how the thing's giving me tutorial tooltips for fighting Lu Wu here at the end of the damn third area. Lu Wu, for those who don't know, is a boss of the first section. I ain't fucking with Annihilation Monks, though. They are one thing you do not want to fuck with. Something real satisfying about slapping one of those kappas out of the air. I swear they changed the Annihilation Monks, because I remember them always just trying to teleport on your head and do the suck aura. Don't get me wrong, very happy they don't do that as much anymore, but I'm very confused by it. Do I want to upgrade this further? I mean, why not? It's getting quite effective, so I may as well just keep riding it to victory. Even though we got this at the beginning. And now I've decided to take it to plus 10 because I'm just... This run's just gone real weird. It went from, hey, I've got a good idea, to, wee, cleave, stab everything, yeah. Coming for you. That could have been a tragedy. Oh shit. No. No, 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 no. No, you too. No. Man, we're riding the ragged edge of disaster this whole time. Give me that. $1,510. That much per hit bonus, and I'm still not one-shotting anything. Aside from real pleb monsters. But man, can we tear them up now. I don't think we can reach these guys in any real capacity, though. Pretty sure that's out of our capacity. Of course, if he jumps down to meet me, that's on him. You know, at that point, he's decided his own fate. Nothing can be done for him. Yeah, one absolute advantage now to scale the cleave damage even higher. I was hoping for one of the ones that would, you know, keep me alive now. Now that I've got the damage scaling to a point where it's actually worthwhile. Sadly, not meant to be, apparently. So we'll just have to continue nearly dying every time I decide to do something stupid. And in the end, that's fine. I accept them not giving me ultimate power. Now there's something to punch. This is going to be the death of me. Ooh. Was not expecting it to be the death of me before I got to him, though. That was a little earlier than expected. Oh, well. That was a meme run that went a lot further than I thought it was ever going to. Still saving my souls for picking up the new character, though. I was hoping to make enough on that trip, but I didn't. Time for the other meme. There's 3 builds I typically play in this game. All explosives dog, all punch bird, and the lightning guy with as many things on crit hit as possible. And all 3 have great potential to get out of hand, and great potential to get me killed before I even get halfway through the game. Of the builds I use, though, I think this might be the one that requires the least amount of effort from me. This one is like 90% point and shoot. There was at least some common sense and management to the punching build. Because if I managed things wrong early on, I would have been dead a lot sooner. Of course, if I'd managed it better, I probably could have passed 2,000 by the end. Sure. I forgot how kind of decent the sting is. What do you want, phone? Why are you yelling at me? Ah. Now, if the game would just actually drop an explosive weapon, that'd be grand. Not that it matters yet, because I don't have the actual explosive components of the explosive build yet. But I still like blowing things up. Though double grenade is already really helpful. At normal speed, fantastic. That'll compensate for when I'm carrying a damn rocket launcher on my shoulder. They've changed things. That has a different name. That is still good. That is actually, if anything, better than the version that used to exist, which was when you fire the last round in a magazine, you do extra damage. Now you have more room than just one round. Which, for the record, that last shot thing made sniper rifles for this guy do stupid things. Or rocket launchers if you had them limited down to one rocket. Because basically every shot did double damage at that point. Which that still works, judging from the way that reads. It just now works better. Because you can have a 2-shot magazine and still have the advantage. Actually, wait, no. Because a 2-shot magazine, you wouldn't be at 30% till you were at 1. So it still doesn't change anything as far as that goes. Just helps with larger mags. Lightning Enthusiast. Fantastic. Goes well with the Lightning Shard. And, of course, with my Thunder Glove. Which, early on, this was one of my favorite weapons. And it still kind of is. I don't think it's my favorite weapon anymore. But it's up there. I don't want any of these, even though they're fun weapons. They don't matter enough to pay for. I don't know why I'm singing so much today. It's just a thing that's happening. I blame the fact that I still have a head full of Tylenol. Okay, hidden treasure. They want me to be the richest dog on the planet. And I can respect that. I'd like to show off the new explosive weapon if I can get a hold of it. Because it's quite good. And that was without any bonuses to explosives. So with bonuses, it's probably going to be horrifying. Which is 100% what I'm here for. Do I want to upgrade the Sting? It's doing really well. Nah. Since I don't really intend on keeping one or both of these, doesn't seem worth it to me to upgrade them. Ooh. They changed Mad Bomber, too. Mad Bomber used to give you explosion protection. Now it gives you extra damage and even more damage the more enemies are in the explosion. They have made a horrible mistake. This was a terrible, awful mistake for them to make. They have murdered their entire game. I will kill everything now. All things are ruined. Because the last thing they wanted to do was give me even more explosion damage. Like, they're making the mistaken assumption that I care if I blow myself up. I got news for you. That ain't what this is about. If I take the planet down with me, that is a worthy explosion. I need that secondary E-capacity boost again. Don't need a hell. I may or may not have run up on him expecting to be able to punch him and then forgetting I'm not that character anymore. Because there is no default melee in this game. Your sniper rifle curse is continuing. I don't appreciate it. I was hoping to reverse psychology it into going away. Tired of the elite horse head. Can I get any of the other elites, please? I'd bother to dual wield, but that really wouldn't help this situation much at all. Since I have no dual wield talents. And all it would do is mess up my shooting a bit. What would be great is if he would just give up and die already. He's got too damn much health, and he has no hope of killing me. Unless I do something really boneheaded. Which he is capable of making me do when I just run out of patience sitting here trying to kill him. Because as long as he keeps summoning minions, I can't really run out of ammo in this fight either. Grenade Master. I'm Grenade Man. Yeah. I hate all these scrolls. I guess I'll take Thorny Carapace. It's the most likely to actually do something. Now back to your regularly scheduled genocide. Yeah. I stand still a bunch sometimes. That works. Sustained fire. I still didn't get the real linchpin to make this go fully off into stupid territory, but we'll get there. Oh, great, it's Luwu. Oh, the excitement. Explosive weapon? Yeah! The deafening mortar. This thing's fun. Just gonna upgrade the hell out of that. Because what it does is the left click is essentially a flak cannon, and then the right click fires 3 E-bombs. So this thing does terrifying damage right off the top. I just realized the rocks Luwu spawns on are the golem. Yeah, just look what this is doing to him already. Fight's over. Luwu is dead. This thing is ridiculous. I suspect they're going to tone the deafening mortar down a bit going forward. Which will be a tragedy, but it would be correct. Ooh. Then again, Luwu is a chump. So, I suppose it wouldn't be unreasonable to disregard that as a problem. So that said, I'm sure we all remember starting the game and dying to Luwu the first time. And then never ever again unless you do something super boneheaded. Okay, explosive enhancement still exists. I was worried that they'd gotten rid of explosive enhancement. And that would have just been so upsetting. But no, the two big ascensions are still there. So I can definitely break this build. Because once you have precise explosion as well, that means you just dunk on bosses with your bombs too. So you're fine no matter what you're fighting. I mean, sure, it takes a second or so for the triple shot to charge, but just look what it does to things. And then, of course, there's just the fact that I can fire the flak cannon as if it's a shotgun, and everything perishes on my screen, as long as it's not far enough away to not be in range. This thing is dumb. The good kind of dumb. You just need, like, Magic Magazine or something to keep this thing loaded. Because its ammo capacity is a problem. He's dead already. There we go. No more really... Just follow him around, just chukunk, 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 dead. Ooh. That's pretty good. It's also pretty good. Tactical reload, because I reload a lot. They just let me have so many nice things. Oh no, he almost got me. I'll put that away for a moment though, so I don't burn through all of the ammo. This last thing I need is to be screwing around with it and then run out of ammo for it when I actually need it. Not that ammo is that hard to come by. I could enhance it further. Yeah, why not? I'm never gonna have money, but that's fine. Rip. Of course, I blow all my money, and then I could have gotten a really nice inscription upgrade for a ridiculous death cannon. Because it could do with it, honestly. The fast reload's all well and good, but it getting some scary blue inscriptions would be really fun. We'll see if we can get enough money and come back for that. I also probably should be replacing this Sting. It's good, but it's falling off damage-wise now because I haven't upgraded it. Yeah, why not? The Argus is not an amazing weapon, but it's decent. It's a pretty brain-dead weapon to use. You just fire in their direction, and the line will more than likely hit them. Yes, explosive enhancement is here. Which, the damage bonus isn't the big win for explosion enhancement. The big win is the extra AoE. Just start using it to clear rooms in one shot. mildly proud of myself for actually remembering to use the foundry now and then, when it's applicable. Usually it just sits there and rots in my third slot and never sees the light of day. Do I have any occult scrolls I don't care for that I've got? I mean, honestly, Rock Hard Determination is probably one of the weakest ones I've got. That or Hidden Treasure, but Hidden Treasure is going to accidentally get used with this build, so... Yeah, I'll go ahead and give up Rock Hard Determination. It might come back to bite me later when I lose a lot of damage, but I'll get over it. The main fun thing with the Argus is it's got a bunch of knockback on it, so you can throw things away from you. It's a pretty good sidearm for a sniper if you don't have any teammates. Which, not gonna lie, I've spent a lot of time playing this game by myself. So, I can vouch for the fact that that is useful. I've got Lightning Enthusiast, so I should probably pick up either the Thunderstorm or the Lightning Glove. Because that will scale to ridiculous. Those inscriptions are redundant. I've got a 30% chance to get half the ammo back when I kill something, but I've also got a 50% chance to get the whole magazine back. I guess that means it'll never run out of ammo. Not never, but it's unlikely. And actually, yeah, I don't want to use the... Actually, no. Thunderstorm would be fine. It's not large ammo that I'm using for the Deafening Mortar. It's special ammo. So that would be okay. You don't want to have two of the same ammo type, as you might guess, because, you know, then you run out. But I like the Thunderclap Glove too much, so I'll bring that back. We could go get those inscriptions re-rolled. We could afford it. I'm going to go ahead and do it. I want to see what happens. I want to see what blue inscriptions we get. This is going to be a tedious couple minutes, though, because we're going to have to walk all the way back. If it'll let me. I don't think it'll let me. I'm pretty sure that was where we needed to go to get back to that, and we can't. Well, no fancy inscriptions for me, then. Sad days. Unless it was this one? Nope, that was the one I sold the scroll to. Well, rip that idea. Oh well. Could have been worse. Just spend the money enhancing it an extra level, then. That'll be fine. And that's why I like the Thunderclap Glove. It does in Desert Worms real good, and I hate Desert Worms. And it has this habit of spreading to every enemy nearby. So you can take out large groups without even thinking about it, really. And when you're fighting the Golem, for example, it knocks all of his projectiles out of the air more often than not. Same goes for the Worm Boss in this area. So you can just keep on hitting his weak point and never have to worry about dodging his corrosion shots. Because they just get destroyed. Oh yeah, this is the other new weapon. The ice spears. You throw them, they'll go a set distance, and then they'll make a vortex where they land. You can throw a few at a time, and if you right-click, you pull them all back, which will hit things again on the way back. I'm not super fond of it, but it's really neat. I need to find a particularly good one before I really come to a conclusion about it, I think. It does not suit what we're doing right now, though, so I'm not going to bring it with me. I like what I've picked up too much. This is a really awkward vault location. Ooh. No wonder it was so awkward. Yeah, that went a lot quicker. Just a bit quicker. I don't want triple comeback. I will take Final Judgment, though. So I personally do not like triple comeback. Because you just die so fast once you have it on. Like, for somebody who's a lot more careful than I am, it's probably fantastic. Is you can just meter out that at disadvantage a bit more. But for me, who just kind of ends up nose deep without really paying attention to how he got there, it's a death sentence. And then a death sentence, and then a death sentence. And there's Precise Explosion. But it also has Sustained Fire 3. Nah, I'll take Precise Explosion. This way I can get that started. Ah, thank you for the raid, Xeno, and welcome in. How was your stream? Glad to hear it. This is Gunfire Reborn. It hit 1.0 3 days ago? It's pretty good. I will say it is possible to get tired of it after a while, because I did. But then I put it down for a bit, and now it's back to being good again. So I wouldn't advise hammering on it too hard. But I would especially recommend bringing other people with you for it, because it's good by yourself, but it's far better when you have other people. It can handle up to 4 people at a time. I do like Justice, but no. It's got some real wild weapons in it, though. Like, this Deafening Mortar is one of the ones that was added in 1.0. And I honestly think they might need to tone it down a little bit, because it is ridiculously good. Not that that isn't half the fun sometimes. Don't really want any of those. Though it doesn't hurt that the setup I've got for the character I'm playing right now leans very heavily into explosive damage, which is what this is all about. Yep, that is because this is a dog. Every character is an anthropomorphic animal. You have a choice between a bird, a dog, a cat. I think, yeah, there's also a rabbit. I don't remember what the new one is. And I think there's a bear? I do not remember the name off the top of my head here. Let me go answer that for you right quick, because it will take just a second. I'm not going to butcher that pronunciation, so I'm just going to drop that name in the chat for all of you. That is the company's name. I know my limitations with pronunciation, and that was going to be one of them. I'm pretty sure this is the only thing they've made so far. It's definitely had its bad moments along its lifespan, but now that it's mostly done, it is all around good. There are 1 or 2 points where I would say the balance still needs a bit of work. But that's also because I play gimmicky nonsense that doesn't necessarily work very well, so that's partially on me. Used to have a lot of real bad bugs in co-op where people would get stuck in rooms, or boulders would be hitting them even though the boulders weren't there. 90% of that's been ironed out. But I would still advise the ones with difficult internet to be careful who you work with. Yeah, pretty much you have 2 weapons you can carry. You always have this foundry gun, which is essentially a pistol. This has infinite ammo. As it shows there, it scales up to match whatever your lowest equipped weapon is. Then there's occult scrolls. These are similar to what you'd find in most roguelikes these days. They're extra boosts that you get in random boxes. Then each character has 3 ascension trees worth of stuff. Each of these usually goes up to 3 levels. As you can see, right now I'm very heavily tilted in a certain direction. At the end of each section, you'll get a chest that has a golden goblet in it, which gives you a choice of 3 from this table here. Sometimes it's unfavorable and you don't get what you're looking for. But there's very rarely any out-and-out bad choices. I can't really think of a character who has any particularly bad ascensions. They just may not suit what you're trying to do. Like right now, I wouldn't take Adrenal Rush with what I'm doing, but it's a very good move to have. Same with Twin Gunner. If you're actually using the character's main ability, which is he can dual wield temporarily, this would be fantastic to have. I'm going to take Mad Bomber because I'm crazy and I just want to have as much explosion damage as possible. This boss in particular is one of the ones I would say is a bit iffy, especially if you're by yourself. Hopefully I'm going to avoid the issue by just powering through it, but we'll see. Because the biggest thing about this is there's an attack it has that it uses in the first phase, that if you can't outrun it, you're going to die. So it's a bit of a speed check. If you're with other people, they can just pick you up after the fact and it's not an issue. By yourself, you go down, you get 1 revive that costs you your currency, that you would normally be taking to the end of a run with you. And you get one of those at all. And there's the problem right there. That's one down immediately. I still think they should rework this boss. Because it's kind of bad. The only other boss that has any serious issues, in my opinion, is one that shows up not actually at the end anymore. They added an extra stage after it. But more or less, it used to be the final boss, because it also had something that could just one-tap you, and that'd be the end of it. But since it's designed to be a cooperative game, I can kind of give it a little bit of a pass, even if I personally still disagree with it. I should have been using this from the start. We are powering through its health a lot better that way. So yeah, buyer beware as far as that move is concerned. The rest of the fight's not bad. Once he moves on from using the laser much, he's not really much of a threat anymore. Which is the other reason why I think they should rework him and make the fight a little more interesting across the board instead of going from instant death to not really a problem. But how quickly we just killed that is pretty much exactly why I'm saying I think this weapon might need to be scaled down a little bit. Being able to tear right through a boss like that is not exactly great game design, but it's enjoyable. But after this run, I have enough souls that I'll be able to show off the new character, which was one thing I was hoping to get to. Oh yeah, and at the end of each actual stage, there will be a healing point that'll put you to full. And each section is usually 3 or 4... Actually, no. It's more like 4 or 5 stages. Losing my ability to count. Don't mind me. Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't say hammer it down much, I'd say just tune the scaling for it down just a little bit. Let it stay strong, but just not drop the boss in seconds. Because I would 100% say I'm one of the people that enjoys things being broken nonsense, especially in something non-competitive. But I can see how it would kind of sour the experience for other people in your group who aren't going to get to participate in that fight. That fight's just over before they have a chance to interact with it. It kind of becomes a joke that's only funny the first time. I went the wrong way. Need this elevator. What do we got there? Prism knives. It definitely has some of that feel there, yeah. They both have that very comic booky cel-shaded art style. I would say this is a little cleaner. Whereas Borderlands is purposely a little more dirty. Yeah. And of course, working off of two very different inspirations. Most definitely the same feel. I keep forgetting that that flak has a limited range. It won't travel till it hits something. It just stops at a set distance. And that random 9999 you keep seeing pop up on things every now and again is one of the scrolls I have. It will automatically kill anything that goes below a certain health threshold as long as I'm still making contact with it. It's a very good scroll to have, because it also works on bosses, who have a much higher threshold. I've squeaked through a few boss fights that way. That I would have otherwise had no business winning. But every character has a secondary they can use, which is typically a grenade of some kind, and one special they can use. I won't really be showing the dog special off that much, because the other weapon I have doesn't qualify for dual wielding. Most of the rocket launchers and things of that nature, or bows or things like that, don't work for dual wielding. Anything that doesn't will say right on it cannot be used with dual wielding. But yeah, on the note of Borderlands, very similar to the Gunzerker in that regard. Would not be surprised if there was some idea sharing on that thought. Oh, yep, I misstepped on that one. Elites can be real brutal. Again, scaled for multiplayer. The health on things will scale down for a solo player. It does take player count into account, but damage is a bit scaling. More or less, yeah. Okay, now I can afford this character. Alright. His whole deal is he can summon a shield, and he punches things. And I think he's a turtle? Some of these can be a little hard to read what animal they originally were. But I would say a turtle is probably a safe bet. As you saw there, it has a quite sizable meta progression system as well, and each character has a few extra abilities specific to them you can get. Take the Crimson Fire skill. Also, thank you for the follow. Okay, how does this one play? I know the more I move, the more my punch damage will scale. Okay, the punch is a little slow. Okay. I can get behind that. I can work that. Is this... do I want this? Yeah, sure. But yeah, the game has the full gamut of weapon types, pretty much. It has sniper rifles, it has rocket launchers, it has a few machine guns, it has pistols, and then it's got a bunch of weird stuff. It also has a couple swords, for those who like to melee. And they are all equally good, I would say. There are a couple that stand out, but for the most part, every weapon is viable. Which is honestly impressive. This I would say is probably the closest to a lever action rifle you've got. There's one other one that's kind of close, but nothing's specifically a lever action revolver. Why do I want to keep saying revolver? Bloody hell. Rifle. Something's off in my head there right now, and I don't really know why. Blah, 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 blah. Now, I have no idea what any of these are, so I'm gonna have to actually read these. Okay, so this is the common sense choice, and this is the one I'm going to be taking. That's what that tells me. Anything that tells me I'm going to punch twice where I normally would punch once is probably going to get taken as a choice. This guy's kind of slow, though. That punch is effective, though. There's the Tiger Cannon, which is your typical rocket launcher. Yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and sacrifice all of my health for the moment to get money. All but, like, 2 characters have a regenerating shield. The other 2 characters both have armor, which can only be restored by pickups or abilities. The characters with armor tend to have more health, though, so it balances out reasonably. And they each have a specific move speed. So that's all worth bearing in mind. After this run, I'll go through all of them so we can actually see the different statistics and what they do. This fire skill is typically just a machine gun, but it also has a spread fire, or a fireballs, that you charge by firing on things. Not every weapon has a secondary fire in this game, but the secondary fires are usually pretty good. Okay. Oh yeah, and there are sometimes areas like this where it will just turn into a survival room. Enemies will keep spawning till a certain amount of waves are done. Doesn't happen too often, thankfully, because these aren't the most interesting. And rooms have a chance of a challenge spawning in them, which will have an effect. Sometimes it'll spawn an additional enemy when you kill something. Sometimes enemies just straight up explode. One of the more complicated ones to deal with is the one that removes a large portion of regular damage and more or less means you have to rely on critical damage. Because headshots and such do count in this game. When you see yellow numbers showing up, that is a critical hit, which every weapon has a different critical modifier. Orange is lucky shots, which is what crits would normally be in an RPG. You just get lucky and do extra damage. Both can trigger on the same shot, which will come up in a different color. And of course, your standard white numbers are just you're doing regular damage. There are multiple elements to the various weapons, and they affect health bars differently. You can also combine elemental effects to cause different effects. If you mix, I think it was fire and corrosive on a target, it will get confused and start fighting its friends, for example. Thankfully, combined effects cannot be used on the player. Otherwise, that would get really bad really fast. There's a lot of similarities there, yeah. This game's definitely got a lot of ideas that show up everywhere else, but they melded together well. Yeah. Radiation was always fun to play around with. Though I haven't played Warframe in a long time. Those are good choices. I didn't really get too picky about what I was using. There's a deafening mortar. What have I got? Yeah, this guy seems to want to be closer, so we'll go ahead and grab the shotgun. As you can see, some weapons have a unique reload animation. This one, you feed it fish, so it shoots. Why? Not entirely sure. It's just a thing. It's all in all a really good shotgun, though. And that's coming from somebody who's not usually too big on shotguns. That must have been a headache to make work, because I don't recall the Mark I Broughton being that good. It was never terrible, but it was never impressive. So well done on managing to make that work. Yeah, sure, we'll bring out the prism too. The prism is, as it looks, a throwing knife. What makes the prism unique is it bounces a lot. Like, this thing will end up all around the room. No. Yes. These red chests will usually cost you money in exchange for something, but they also can have curse scrolls in them. Ew. Yeah, if you've lost that build, that might be a bit of a pain to put back together. That now hard to prove, but I won't question it, because if you're bothering to say that, you had to have put in at least enough of the effort to have the idea. This guy's whole shtick is he spins. And then he throws stuff at you. Then he'll do it again. Would make some degree of sense. So I don't anticipate just going straight extra bullet damage or anything would work out that well for it. Yeah, I'll show off the Bone Dragon. This is just a learning trip, so I don't mind throwing this away. By learning and showing off different things. Go ahead and take Untold Effort. Since I'm going to be punching a lot, it'll help. Of note, depending on the size of the weapon you're holding, you will go slower. So things like this Bone Dragon and the rocket launchers and all of that will be a problem if you're trying to dodge something or do parkour. There's one of the swords, bow. This is one of the interesting shotguns. You hold the button down and it'll wind up like a Gatling gun, and it'll steadily fire faster and faster. I take it you spent a lot of time making weird builds on things, which I can respect that. I did a lot of that myself. Don't really want any of these, though. I wasn't that far off. I only started right after the beta opened up rather than being in closed beta, if I remember right. But I stopped playing a year or two ago. But you've certainly witnessed a lot of changes. I remembered hearing something about that, but I never actually saw anything of it. Can I reach him to punch him? Yeah, it does actually let you punch it. Okay, cool. Yeah, that is a bit more unique, and it's flexible enough that it's pretty good to work with. This is your standard double-barreled shotgun. This is a revolver, which I do like the scorching round, so I'll take that. What didn't get to be shown off is with the Bone Dragon, it would pull in any small enemies nearby it when it goes off. And this is your pretty typical old Gatling gun. It's pretty good. But it's also another one of the weapons that makes you move real slow. But I don't think I need to worry too much about going slow as a turtle with a magic shield. There were a bunch of interesting energy-based weapons. I know I used the bows a lot, and what else did I typically lean on? I know I used, I think it was the Grakata a bunch, once I got a hold of it. Because it was just a good solid weapon whenever I didn't want to use something more interesting. Yeah. It was a bit of a pain to get a hold of without having to pay for it completely, though. So that was one I think you had to do a specific quest mission to get without just paying premium currency for it. But memory very fuzzy on that. Might just be completely talking out of my ass. I'm honestly surprised enough that I'm pulling the... Clem, I think, was right. Might even have been with a K. You've definitely got 90% of the right word there, because that's triggering my memory. Let's go ahead and re-roll all of this into blue. It was a good mission. It just, if you didn't remember how to get a hold of the right chain of events for it, it was kind of annoying. Ah, okay. One of those situations. That makes sense. Because a lot of their stuff sounds like that. There's the pupil. Pupil's an interesting weapon. You fire it regularly, it's a shotgun. You hold it down, it's a little closer to a sniper rifle. Okay. I keep thinking about going back and seeing the new content for it, but I just don't want to sit there and do the grind again. And as one who does not play with others that much, especially not with random people, it gets a lot more complicated. Or at least it did. It might be better about that now. I got what little bit I did done rolling with one other person I knew. That's fair. Around that time, they did a couple kind of updates. Certainly keep that in mind if I go back. Yeah, especially if you were trying to get new frames and such, it got to be quite a headache from what I remember, because you had to spend so much time in the void if you didn't want to spend money. Which I think the biggest problem I had with the way the Void was is it reminded me of just sitting there endlessly rerunning dungeons in any other MMO. because it just kind of became what most people claimed as the thing to do, and it just became tedious. Of course, that's the very same reason I wouldn't go back to 14 or anything. Yeah. Well, that's potentially good. And I know they added more stuff after the fact. Yeah, and that's the total of all of your mastery ranks across all the stuff you have, right? Am I remembering that one right? Whew. Then again, with how much time you spent on it, that makes sense. You wouldn't want to keep to the same frame for all eternity, because you would definitely have gotten bored by now. That makes sense. Considering the Kuva are not exactly recent, but more recent than most other things. And I don't even know what tenant weapons are, so I'm assuming they came out after I stopped, or that's just something I never noticed. So I'm sure there's a few things I missed. Okay, trying to punch through his shield is not a viable strategy for this. Okay, then yeah, that was after, or I'm pretty sure, because I don't recognize the name of that update. Ooh, boy. Come on, shield, come back. Come back to me, shield. Definitely need it. Got it. Oof. Wrong button. That'll help. Damage reflection is good. Okay, we'll sub this out for the Strike Wing now. Oh yeah, that reminds me of another mechanic. Lucky shot chance can go over 100%, and then instead of just doing double damage, it will continue to go up. Okay. Melee weapons did need a little bit of tuning, I'd say, because they were pretty stupid good for a bit there. But the fact that they're still good is nice to know. Because I would hate that they would have ruined that. Ah, okay. Yeah, there was some real wild scaling that could happen with some of the mods, so that's fair. I wouldn't be surprised if there was something newer that just really went wild, as is typically the case. It's really satisfying just being able to slowly waddle up to these guys and just punch them. Because this shield seems to be pretty much impervious to damage. Okay. Blood Rush getting nerfed is a bit sad, but that's understandable. So I would not be surprised if that basically just became one of the only things people would use. Which is never something you really want. You want people to use a variety of things. Because otherwise, then what was the point of making the other items? Of note, there's no dedicated melee button in this game. The only way to melee is to get one of these melee weapons. So if something's up on top of you, you at best just get away from it. That sounds right. So I wouldn't be surprised if once you get Blood Rush going well enough, you are basically untouchable because nothing lives to be near you. Yeah, give me more duration on the shield. Yeah. I can't think of too many that are too specific towards melee, at least in what was available at the time I was playing. I'm sure there are a couple that would benefit, but none that are like, you must use this or you're doing it wrong. Not that that's ever an attitude that should exist anyway. It's an attitude that is sometimes correct, but I still disagree with it. Oh, I've done that thing I've got a bad habit of doing again. I've got two weapons that use the same ammo. The two frames I probably clocked the most time with was, I think, Volt and Frost. Volt was, of course... Actually, no. I started with Mag, so Volt wasn't even what I started with. I think I just got bored of Mag, went to Volt, and then eventually got a hold of Frost, and that's why it went that way. That makes sense. Because I remember Valkyr being designed for melee, more or less. Because isn't that the one with the grapple chain pull thing? Yeah, Excalibur was the original melee frame. Not that it was ever amazingly impressive, but it did the job pretty well. Yeah, I couldn't remember whether you went to them or they went to you. That sounds right. Because you wouldn't necessarily want to have something be pulled to you and then not stun it. Ooh. Okay, not entirely sure how I feel about the turtle. There's potential there, but I think needs different weapons, and maybe that might be one that relies on other people. At the very least, need to get the abilities for them. And of course, wouldn't hurt if I was just playing more sensibly. But as you can see by the total up there, I've been playing this for a bit. Basically, the day it came out in early access, I started playing, and I've only stopped here and there. But yeah, let's roll through the list here. This was the first character implemented. It's got an energy orb that stuns things, smoke grenades that do some damage. The main idea with them is typically you go for hex smoke, which will make the enemies in it deal less damage, or you go all in on making the smoke grenades do damage, which is an iffy idea. There's a lot of support for the orbs doing damage, and he is very good with elemental effects. The second character is the dog that I showed off originally. Then came this bird here, who was the first melee character. He swings his arms around to kill things. He has a jump kick, and of course he has ascensions that support that. There's a very ridiculous cleave build that you can get going. Let's see, after that came this one, which I don't know entirely what animal this is supposed to be. I think it's a lion, but I can't really guarantee that. It's got a little bit of a bunch of things in here, and I can't really 100% that one. But point being, they electrify themselves to do piles of damage the first hit afterwards, and they have chain lightning. That's their two big things. They're built around using a sniper rifle for the most part, and then of course there's support for their two abilities. Then you have the rabbit, who is the one that came out when swords were added, and she is all about using swords. She throws magic swords at people, and then she throws exploding flowers. She of course has stuff that works with that, works with her blade manipulation, and she's got a smattering of things for weapon damage and for melee damage. And then finally we have the turtle we were just playing. So that they've added a reasonable variety of character types. Yeah, you know, because of course that's the way they went with that. No one ever said they were breaking any molds here. You know, I would never credit them for necessarily taking the high road or the unique road here. Do I want to do one more, or do I want to play something else? It's always a question. Always a question. I've been playing this for about 2.5 hours. Yeah, I'll do one more. Oh, and the game does not care if you duplicate. You can have 4 of the same character if you want to. I am more than happy to answer that. Whether I can remember it well enough to guarantee the answer to that is a very different animal. I want to say if I didn't get Volt for free, it would have been Volt, and then I think I farmed for Frost. Specifically, I ended up getting Frost Prime once that was available. Ember's another good choice. I think I did get Ember at some point. I wasn't that won over by Trinity, but I have heard that Trinity is very good. Nice. I don't think I ever ended up getting Volt Prime because I think I missed the timing when that was available. Which, that was a bit sad. So I think, all told, I think I only got like 1 or 2 Prime frames because I just could not be bothered to sit there and do the grinding for it after a while. And the frames I did want kept showing up at times where I just could not sit down and do the farming. Okay. That's a good change, because honestly, I was never that big a fan of the fact that most of them were only temporarily available. I think that really just gets frustrating for no good reason. because you could just end up missing, like, one part, run out of time, and now you gotta wait who knows how long before you can finish it. I get that it's designed mostly to try to encourage you to spend money, but annoying anyway. That is a good game. I need to get around to finishing that at some point. I have a very bad habit of not finishing games. Yeah. Is it just me, or is it always the head? I feel like it's always the head that's the one part people can't get a hold of. So I remember my friend complaining, I think it was Rhino Prime's head, or something like that, just would not goddamn drop. And then I know it took me a devil of a time to get the Frost Prime head. I can only imagine the kind of time it would take to get duplicates of any of that. Though then again, I never really counted how many duplicate parts I had of anything, because I usually would sell them on as soon as I could. So I could afford to do anything else. Yeah. Okay. I take it you had a specific use in mind for having two of them, then? Okay. Yeah, you probably would need something pretty much dedicated to that to handle that. Because that had to be absurd. Okay, that's not as bad as I was expecting that to be. I was expecting more like 3 or 4. Not bad. I mean, you basically need to have at least a little bit of double coverage, at least, in a situation like that, because you never know who's going to end up slipping somewhere. Standard sniper rifle. The talismans are an interesting weapon. Ghost Shock's just a chargeable crossbow. It's a very good sniping weapon, though. Huh. So there's even more room to attune that down? Yeah, the thing with the talisman is it's a homing weapon for one. And it can be all three elements. You can sit here and just press B and you'll switch between each one. So you don't need to worry about coverage with this weapon. Okay. Knockdown resist would be nice, because that can get to be a real pain. But I suppose it all depends on whether you're doing that alone or if you're bringing other people with you. Which presumably you'd be bringing people with you. Nice, double exhilaration. I can carry twice as many secondary shots now. Okay. And that's how you manage to cover all three bases. Is for tanking and healing and supporting. Okay. Okay. Redeemer's good, I remember that. There's the golden bow. Got really lucky on how those fire pillars turned. Now this is an incredibly powerful scroll that will kill you by the end of the game. Because the earlier you get this, it will scale to the point where you're taking like double and triple damage. You're of course dealing out ridiculous, but you get touched and you just die. So I don't recommend it, but it can be a lot of fun. Yeah, why not? Porcupine's another hybrid gun. Left click, shotgun unblast that bounces. Right click? Wait. Oh, wait, no. I've got it backwards. Left click is a single bullet that splits into projectiles. Right click's the shotgun. I don't use it that often, so got it backwards. It's quite good, and it is a natural corrosive weapon. So it's very handy in the second area. This is your typical lightning SMG. This was one of the guns that was available from the start of the game, so it's not the most interesting, but it's generally solid. They went steadily more and more off the rails with the weapons as they developed the game further, which is to be expected. Now, you'll notice he's going incredibly slow. That's because corrosion reduces the move speed of something that is being affected by it. So corrosion kind of shuts him down, because he's meant to be running around jumping and trying to punch you. He does have a projectile attack, but it's pretty pathetic. Pretty much the only way he can kill you is by jumping on you. This was the first boss of the game, and the first boss they made. So. Not exactly intimidating. But when you have nothing and the thing is, you unlock weapons as you go on. Killing X amount of this enemy or that, or killing a certain amount of each boss will unlock you different weapons. So initially, you're not going to have too many options, and the bosses will be significantly harder as a result. I'm making some of these look a lot easier than they will be for anyone starting the game. Just gonna put that out there now. Is as part of the meta progression you can do between runs, you can increase your max health, max shields, increase the amount of damage you do, you get more drops. Basically, once you've played enough of the game gets significantly easier for the most part. which is somewhat a failing of the way meta progression systems like that work. Because there can come a point where things get a little too easy because you have too much available to you. This game's not hit that point yet for me, but I could see that potentially happening. Thankfully, if they put in a new weapon and you've already accomplished what would be required to get that weapon, it will grandfather you in and give you the weapon ahead of time. Like, I didn't have to do the grinding to get the Ice Spear or the Deafening Mortar out of this update, because I had already killed the required enemies. The catch to that is when you unlock a weapon when you're actively running through the game, it will automatically drop from the thing that you killed to get the unlock to trigger. So you won't have that happen. But you also don't have to do a run to get it, so it's a trade-off. I like these glimmering knives because, you know, I like explosive weapons, so anything that explodes will generally amuse me. And throwing knives are generally enjoyable too, so the combination of the two is, of course, something I'll make plenty of use of. This is also one of the weapons that's very good against the golem boss from the last area, because you can get these into its weak point pretty easily. And even if you can't hit the weak point, the explosion will generally hit it. Which is fitting, considering I want to say the Glimmering came out either the update before the Golem or the same update as the Golem. Okay, there's definitely a glitch or two still in play, because I could hear his flame the first time and it wasn't actually rendering. But it seems to be okay now. Unlike how stuck I just got. That was not okay. There is an enthusiast scroll for each of the elements, but the other ones tend to have a bit heavier of a drawback. Because lightning enthusiast just makes you take a little more damage while you're electrified. Fire enthusiast constantly drains your health by setting you on fire, but you drain enemies' health by doing fire damage. So as long as you keep doing damage, you're fine. The moment you run out of targets, fire enthusiast might kill you. So it's something to keep in mind with that one. Corrosion enthusiast, I want to say, makes you take less damage while you're corroded, but you move even slower, something like that. So you end up getting real stuck sometimes with that one, so I don't use either of those. Lightning enthusiast I'll almost always take, because it's pretty safe and it increases your lightning damage significantly. One moment. Hello, bot. Goodbye, bot. That is now the second one of those I've had. Thankfully not both in the same day. And honestly, even if that's a regular person, I don't care for people trying to advertise things like that without even saying anything first. So they can just go straight away either way. Far better served having a good community backing you rather than paying for somebody to carry you. Yeah. I don't know if they necessarily frown upon follow for follow inherently, but I know raid trains and such will get you in a lot of trouble. Because they don't want you artificially inflating your numbers, essentially. Ignoring the fact that didn't they roll out paid boosts or something ridiculous like that not too awful long ago? And yet they seem to think that's okay. I mean, that can happen to somebody naturally, too, if they just get a lot of followers that don't actually turn on their notifications. But I think there's a lesson in that to begin with. Oh, yeah. Because then you didn't even earn it, and then you also don't get anything out of it. And on top of that, if you have anybody that actually is enjoying what you're doing, and you get banned, now you're depriving them of actually getting that enjoyment, too. So really, it just stacks bad on bad on bad. You know, I wonder if they removed the parkour challenges, because I haven't seen one at all today, and I usually can't do a run without finding one. And I kind of liked them, but a lot of people didn't like them, so I wouldn't be surprised if they removed them entirely. Because honestly, first-person parkour can be a bit of a nightmare. Especially speaking as one who's afraid of heights. If I get pulled in too much to what I'm doing and I look down, I can give myself a bit of a moment there. Which, let me tell you, VR has been an experience. Yeah, Mirror's Edge is definitely one that could do it to you. It didn't bother me that much when I played it, but I could definitely see it giving people some real weird feelings. Which I will say, I do intend on streaming some VR stuff once I can get a good microphone set up for it. Because I don't really want to do it and then end up slamming the current microphone across the room and deafening everyone. That doesn't really seem like a good way to go about things. Yeah. That was a across-the-board good game. As with most things of its type. It has a few moments here and there, but nothing too bad. You definitely seem to have made the right call on that one. There are just some challenges that end up being universal. No one does it right the first time. Like, if you want to see just a study in botched jumps, just watch somebody play Celeste. As one who has experienced that entire game, it can both be a hair-tearing experience watching someone else play it, or death by laughter, depending on how it's going. It's very, very either way. Which, if you can handle a precision platforming game, I highly recommend Celeste. But man, is that game a nightmare. Well, yeah, you watched me play it, so you know exactly what happens with that one. That was something I showed off before I started actually streaming. Which reminds me, I do need to actually beat a game for this month, because I've been trying to beat a game every month all year. And I've kept up with it for the most part. In fact, no, I don't think I've missed one yet. I would need to double check the list. I'm pretty sure I got one last month, even though last month was a disaster. Which I will probably start doing those on stream going forward. So if there's something anybody wants to see me beat... No. I don't tend to aim for higher difficulties with games because I find that 9 times out of 10 they artificially increase the difficulty in ways that aren't fun. But more power to you if you did. Don't get me wrong, there have been a few things where I've gone and either played it again or purposely played it on a higher difficulty, but it's few and far between. Then again, I rarely replay a game either. I tend to beat it once and then never touch it again, if I even beat it the first time. I'm a very inconsistent person as far as that goes. I keep hearing great things about the BioShock series. I've never sat down and finished any of it. Because I played it when I was younger, at least the first one, and I just couldn't get that heavily into it. But I may fix that. Oh, now I've got another one who's gonna yell at me about this. Because my best friend of long times, I knew him back in college, for example. He's been harping on me forever to go back and finish at least the first BioShock. And I'm sure I will get there. Now, you should play it too. If I'm getting roped into this, you may as well join me. Unless you'd rather I find you something else. So, you know, if I have to finish every game I've started, I will die before I finish, because I have started too many games. Even if I spent the rest of my life doing nothing else, I'm pretty sure I'd still run out of lifespan before I ran out of games to finish. I know the feel. I think at last count I was sitting at 1,600 something on Steam, and that's not counting what else I have. Ooh, okay, the follow-up of not having touched it all is a thing. I can say that I've at least booted 90% of mine. Whether they've gone longer than an hour is a very different animal. I partially blame Humble Bundle for my irresponsibility. Yeah. I still say we need to get your percentage up. Because you absolutely can get there. Oh yeah, sometimes you just end up with people giving you things or things of that nature, yeah. Because they really want to see somebody play it. And yeah, if you see a really good price on something, it just happens sometimes. Like, I want to say I ended up picking up Darksiders 3 for a really low price. Played it for about 2 or 3 hours, and then I need to get around to that. Grim Dawn is good, though. I will vouch for that game. it can get old, but any game of that style can get old, especially if you don't have a full group. Well, not even necessarily a full group, just at least some people to go through it with. Okay, I think I'm gonna switch it up for another hour or so. Just give me one moment to flip to the next thing. That's fair. It can have some good spice to it, as long as the different builds play differently enough. That ends up being the thing for me, is if it still feels the same, I kind of fall off of it. Yeah, I said I would play more of this, so I'll play some more Critadel. That should last me the hour. There we go. Okay, if you've gotten it down to doing it in that amount of time, that's probably not bad, yeah? Let me just quickly update Twitch about the fact that I have completely changed what I'm doing. Otherwise people will be wandering and going, this isn't gunfire. To which the answer would be yes. Yes, it isn't. You are very aware. Congratulations. How much is my rust going to kill me? Because it's been a hot minute since I last played this. Hedge bets and take the shield. Now this is a very simple game, so it will, for the most part, make it self-explanatory right off the top. May as well go to the unknown room. Oh, that's the opposite of what I wanted. Because you can't upgrade your starting gun unless you've unlocked the ability to do so on that character. Yeah. Almost any game, I would say, is better with other people, just because it adds that extra level, both of seeing what other people are doing with it, and just the fact that some wild stuff can happen. Okay. I didn't play that much with the Death Knights, because that came about a little later on. Because that was one of the ones from the expansion, right? Or am I getting the name wrong in my head? Because I know that name comes about from a combination. I just don't remember what the combination is. I mean, that's absolutely fine, too. Just kind of slap a bunch of stuff together and it'll more than likely work. As long as you're not playing on a ridiculously high difficulty. Okay, yeah, that would make sense. I was really enjoying the Inquisitor. I forget what I combined it with. Because I ended up mostly using the Inquisitor half. I think it was like Inquisitor Demolitionist or something like that. I tried a couple different combinations with it, I just don't remember which one was the one that stuck. Because I ended up making, I think, a good, like, 8 or 10 characters trying to find one that I was happy with. Which, not gonna lie, not exactly the best choice if you're starting out a game to make that many characters, because you will get so sick of the start of that game so quickly. Okay, yeah, it makes sense to use a summoner setup early on, because it's a lot safer. It is nice how relatively easily you can switch things up with that game, though. Within reason. That's one of the things I'll give that the most credit for. Yeah. That type of game will either suck you in for an entire day, or you can only do it in spurts. It really depends both on the kind of person you are and how well the game meshes with you. Definitely. Like, I found a long time ago I could play something like that for an incredible amount of time. These days, I can't sit there and play it that long anymore. Like, I feel like it's similar to the MMO thing, of it just ends up becoming too much of the same, so I just can't keep my focus on it anymore. Because in my college years, I made multiple max level characters in Ragnarok Online, and now if I look at that and go, was I insane? Why did I spend so much time on that game? Because to current me, that would be mind-numbingly dull. I mean that, and it was free, and I was a poor college student, so didn't exactly have tons of options. So it's a bit of both. That's also why as a kid you remember playing some awful stuff sometimes, because like, well, this is what I had, so I played it. I have a fair bit of time, but I find that I assign a higher value to my time than I necessarily should. If that makes sense. Like, I feel I have cut myself out of some experiences because I think too highly of how much time I would be spending doing it. It's not exactly the right wording, but I'm hoping the idea gets across well enough. It's a mixed bag. You end up missing out on some things, but you end up getting other things done instead. As with everything in life, it's a trade-off. You can never have everything. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone has something on the internet that they spend a wild amount of time on. Be it TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, any number of those things. Like, I'll be honest, I have YouTube open pretty much perpetually if I'm not live. And if YouTube's not open, Twitch is open. The only time one of the two isn't open is when I'm not home, because opening it on my phone is a pain. Because then I have to keep the phone out or it stops working. I mean, that is an option, yes. I just try to actually devote attention to whichever is open. Otherwise, I'd end up driving myself crazy trying to pay attention to too many things at once. But if you can multitask better than I can, more power to you. Because there are plenty of people that can do that. Chroma and Chromie. Yeah. Unless I'm playing something like super story-based or something I really want to immerse in, I typically have YouTube or Twitch open on my other monitor, just have some background noise. But absolutely, when I'm eating, I have something to watch, because I can't... I'm not one of those people that can sit in silence. I have found that I've lost that ability somewhere along my life. Go, my bees. Assault them. Yeah, maybe I'll do one of the BioShock games for this month and have that be either the next couple of streams, because I know those won't take too awful long. As long as I don't do something stupid, like try to beat it on the highest difficulty the first time or something. I figured that would get an amount of excitement. And it is something I've been meaning to do. So it works out both ways. Oh, this is a new weapon. If you start, you won't be able to stop, I assume. I've got a couple things like that. I've managed to keep myself under control about that, but I've gotten close a couple times. Well, the trick there is, are you looking at it from the perspective of somebody who's played the games multiple times, or are you looking at it from the perspective of somebody who has barely any idea what's going on? Because that can be two very different animals. I'm no fool, and I do know how the game works, but that doesn't mean things aren't going to blindside me. Yeah, sure, let's buy the most expensive pet. We got what appears to be a corgi that flies. Fair enough. Also, just enjoy that art for a moment, because they did a very good job on these. Okay. Because I do remember when I was younger, one of my brothers had started playing it on, I think it was hard, might have been higher than that. Was having a bit of trouble, and being the younger brother, foolishly thinking he can do better, I jumped in the middle to try to help, and was getting bodied. So that's, of course, the impression I have for it. But I'm sure that's not an entirely accurate impression, considering I was going in part way blind. Yeah. I will more than likely do it on normal just for sake of not risking something going wrong and making it take forever. And of course, you know, don't want to sour the impression of the game by trying to do something beyond my skill set. Because that's a real easy way to turn somebody away from a game, is by pushing them to go higher than they can handle. Also, if I'd realized that it would have just straight up traded out the companions, I wouldn't have bought that companion. But now we have a flamethrower pet, I guess. I assume it worked out reasonably well for you, considering you didn't end up hating the game afterwards. Okay. Yeah, that was what I ended up playing it originally on as well. Because that was back before I even had a PC of my own. Make the drills burn things. Basic crew gun can do more damage, and the bees will be on fire. Now, an important thing to the fact that I've added burn type to these. There are synergies to weapons. The more of them you have, it works together. That's fair. Sometimes you see a game and you don't want it spoiled, or you want to try it a different way, so you end up picking it up straight away on your own. There's been a couple things that I've picked up pretty much as soon as I saw somebody else playing it, and then in some cases I've played it side by side, and in other cases I moved on to watch something else while I played it. That's fair. It does have quite the good opening. That right there's the dangerous thing about this boss. She can knock all of the guns out of your hand. I don't entirely understand how she can knock all of them out of your hand simultaneously when you're not holding them, but it's a thing that happens. Now, if I could just... There we go, there's the grenade button. Because you do have grenades you can use. I forget to use them frequently. Because it's the old finite resource thing of, well, what if I need these high potions for a bigger fight? And then you never use them the entire game. Oop, got too greedy. Still, went better than I expected for the amount of rust on me right now. What is the challenge run you're talking about? Because I would assume there's more than one type of challenge run you could do. That's what I figured. That's the thing. Once you know something well enough, you end up going down some serious rabbit holes with it. Like, back when I was playing the hell out of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, I considered doing ridiculous things like playing through the whole game, shoes only, and nonsense like that. Then I got sucked into too many other things, and the rust has since taken away my capacity to accomplish that. I'd have to play it at least 2 or 3 times again just to get back in enough shape to do that, as shown by what happened when I did the refresher streams of it a few weeks ago. I was considering doing it, yes. I did not actually do it, but I thought about it. That was back when I first played the game, back when it came out, because I beat it that week and then ended up proceeding to play it a couple more times after that. That's one of the few games I've played more than once, let alone completed. You really do like making it difficult for yourself the first time, don't you? Though how was it? Because I would assume it wasn't too awful, but it had to have been tricky at some points. In part just because of availability. Huh. Then again, you can get at some pretty decent shoes pretty early, so I guess it's not too bad. Unless you were thinking of doing just the base shoe, in which case you are insane. Or incredibly patient, which I am not. That's fair. I would not consider that to be unreasonable, because neither of them are particularly difficult. And I suppose you could technically beat the whole game with base equipment to a degree if you are so stacked for items that you could just heal your way through everything. Oh, absolutely. Luck at least has a decent effect in Bloodstained. Which I will probably be doing getting at least a few trips through the Bloodstained randomizers again at some point. Because I do still enjoy that game. I just don't know when I'll fit that in. I just enjoy randomizers in general, because so much weird stuff can happen. Though that is by far one of the tamer randomizers out there, I gotta say. Though it did end up spitting out a seed that I beat in a half an hour, which was really funny. Yeah. Which I want to say, in the pool with loot drops, I want to say it also does affect shard rates as well. Which ends up being the biggie as far as I'm concerned. And I bring that up mostly because Aria of Sorrow, a game I love to death, does not have properly functioning luck stats. What was that curse I just got? Oh joy, I go slower now. This was probably not worth it. Well, rip me. Oh god, this feels real bad now. I'm pretty sure you're right on that one. I want to say it felt like they got it working properly in Dawn, but I may just be getting the placebo effect from putting on a bunch of luck stuff and then just genuinely getting lucky. That's what always makes it a little hard to tell. Without actually going in there and diving into the code. Which, if I do start setting up capture cards and the like, or pick up the advanced collection, I will probably do Circle of the Moon on the channel, because I didn't finish that one. So that might happen at some point. Because I do want to finish that someday. So there's honestly a lot of games I played when I was younger that I want to go back and do on here. Some of which are good, some of which people might know, and some of which people will look at me and go, "Why are you doing this?" There's gonna be a real gamut on that one. Like, I'll probably get a lot of head scratching if I go back and play, like, Kingsfield or something on here. The Chrysogrim drop rate's a real funny one in general. Because some people seem to get it, like, immediately, just because they're incredibly lucky, and other people, myself included, can spend hours upon hours upon hours trying to grind it and still never see it. This slowdown might just be the bane of my existence already. Wait, I still have grenades. Whew! If I did not remember grenades, that would have been disaster. That tracks. Getting that many levels would completely track with the drop rate of a Chrysogrim. Same goes for the equivalent in Bloodstained, because there is a weapon that is essentially the Chrysogrim in Bloodstained as well, and the drop rate's just as bad. I could see how that would lead to some questions about how luck works, yeah. Oh, okay, the Void Ray doesn't do damage, it just absorbs bullets. That's debatably helpful, but not particularly right now. Oh god, this saw is going to murder me because I can't fucking move away from it. No, 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 no. Dang it. Loot guy got away again. Yep. This run is over. And that's fine. Slowed down like that, I don't know if I wanted to keep that going anyway. That's honestly not that bad to do. Just ends up being a matter of, do you want to play the game again to do that at the time? That's fair. It is a bit weird after the way everything else has worked up till that point to not have that happening. And of course, you don't have any other equipment anymore either, so that's a whole other animal too. Aside from, you know, the traditional sub-weapons. To be fair, Hydrostorm's just kind of disgusting in general. It's probably the one of the strongest item crushes in Castlevania, period. Of course, it's now at that moment that I'm wondering how many people's heads did most of this conversation just fly over. Which, if it did, don't feel too bad. We are discussing things from a little bit of a ways back. Not too far back, but a bit. Well, spend enough time around me and you're gonna experience it from me too, and I make no apology for it, but I try to be understandable. I wouldn't say the PS1 was my first console, because I did grow up with an N64 and an NES and all of that. Hell, I even grew up with a Virtual Boy. Not that it worked for very long, but it existed. Which, I gotta say, can't recommend the Virtual Boy. Can't recommend it at all. Ah, okay. Hey, at least you got a good game right off the top. His Tetris is good. I don't remember what order we got consoles in, because I know we definitely had the NES and the SNES and the Genesis before the rest of it, because, you know, of course, that's the order things existed in. I just don't remember back before I was 15 even that well. So, it's all a bit haze. That's quite the jump. That's another hefty jump. But at least it was reasonably consistent. Yeah, they were the same generation and pretty close to the same time. I was fortunate in that gaming was something my whole family did. So I got in very early. I just have an awful memory, so I don't remember what was what, where, when. But I want to say I've played something on literally just about every console. Because we had a Dreamcast, we had a Saturn. Like, I want to say I only didn't have the really weird shit, like the Jaguar and things like that. But that said, no matter what systems we had, we didn't have a lot for each one. I think a bunch of them we literally had like 3 or 4 games for. And that was just because since everyone in the family was gaming, everyone bought different things, so we had a decent amount. That's another one I didn't have. I don't entirely regret not having one, but it would have been interesting. The CDI is certainly a thing. And I know it's nowhere near as bad as people make it out to be. But it's still kind of bad. I want to say games for the CDI were really hard to get. Because I don't think they ever made that many. Both in terms of copies of each game and many different games. Similar to how the 3DO ended up working out. They didn't make that much for it, but what was made for the 3DO was good. That was a console I spent a surprisingly amount of time with. Playing things like Slayer, Star Control 2, and things of that nature. Though I didn't really get into Slayer till I was older, because that game is kind of impenetrable if you don't understand it a little bit before you start, since it's very heavily based on very old D&D rules. Like, I think that game's built on, like, 2nd edition? Might even have been earlier than that. This is not the direction I thought this conversation was going to take, but you know what? I'm here for it. Why is it these two again? There are other bosses, game. I don't know if you know that, but there are other bosses. Yeah, I played a bit during 3.5. I never really played that much D&D. In part because I never really had a group to play with, and in part because at the time I just wasn't that into it. And now I don't want to say I don't have the time, but I don't entirely have the time. I'm sure if I really wanted to, I could make the time for it. Just unfortunately, tabletop role-playing is something that goes a bit beyond my asocial battery's capacity. Even at its expanded rate from having started doing this. Though I did get into a game of Mutants and Masterminds back in college. It didn't really go very far because the group kind of fell apart rapidly, but it was a thing. Spin the wheel! And my luck is consistent. I have been cursed. What's that curse do? Oh, that's not too bad. Just makes health kits a little less good. That's honestly fine. Yeah, bottom line ends up being, if I do a retro stream, don't be surprised if you see some really odd stuff come out of it, because I won't say I don't have any taste, but I'll say my taste has gotten very strange. Druids are always fun. I've always found myself drawn to being a caster of some kind. Not because of too much of an interest in magic itself, just because I find some really good, silly opportunities with magic. Okay, so this is a bit of a change for you. How's that difference been working out for you? I can only assume there was a barrel inside that explosion. I get the feeling I missed a step there. What did this do anyway? Yeah, that's always the most important part, is that you're having fun with whatever you're trying out. It doesn't have to be working well, it just has to be enjoyable. That's fair. Yeah, you gotta keep some normalcy to it. But as much as I'm enjoying the conversation, I am starting to run out of energy a bit, and I should probably go make dinner. I mean, if you've done it long enough, it kind of just becomes second nature after a while. There's definitely a joy in being something wildly different from yourself. Let's see. Thank you. And how do y'all feel about going and raiding Nightstirb, as I see he's on right now? I won't make anybody go along with it, but I'm going to put the idea out there. I don't see any objections, so off we go. Have fun.
Don't get many single bed options. I'm going to have to go for that one.
I retire. What will happen to your friend? So long, man. Have a good day. Fuck you! Who put this thing together? Me! You die, motherfucker!